welcome. This is Primetime News on TV1, coming to you live and direct from Studio R, right here in the heart of Colombo. I'm Jamal Ratnayaka for the Newsfirst team. Good evening, Michaela.
Good evening, Jamal. And before we head into more news in detail, here's a look at headlines.
Registrar of the Askari chapter of the Siam sect says it is not suitable for monks to contest the parliamentary elections. Bail granted to former Minister Dr. Rajendra Senaratne. Overseas travel ban still in effect. Swiss staffer released on strict bail conditions. CID records a statement from former Minister Rishad Badiuddin regarding the April 21st attacks. Government prepares to pay $4.8 billion of external debt for 2020.
Welcome back to the news. In your top story, Registrar of the Askariya chapter of the Siam sect, Venerable Mathagama Dhammananda Thero, making a statement to the media today, stated that monks should not contest the forthcoming parliamentary elections.
We can see a tendency of Buddhist monks attempting to enter parliament. Especially at this point, as a Sinhalese Buddhist nation, we have appointed a new leadership. We must make it clear that monks must not come forward to contest elections under this government. We have already informed the UNP and the current government of this stance. We are ready to carry on educating all parties that it is unsuitable to have monks representing the parliament.
රජයේ නියෝජනය කරන ඒ රාජ්‍ය නායකත්වයට අපි මේ වන විටත් දැනුවත් කර තිබෙනවා.
Meanwhile, Venerable Valavahengunaväwe Dhammaratana Thero expressed the following views.
We urge the general public to refrain from voting for Buddhist monks who contest elections. There is a Thero who is contesting under the symbol of a dog. Is this our symbol? We urge the President and all political parties to refrain from taking Buddhist monks into politics.
Welcome back to the news now. Sri Lanka must repay $4.8 billion as external foreign debt next year. This is thus far the largest debt repayment in the history of the country.
As per central bank statistics, outstanding central government debt increased to 12,863.5 billion rupees by the end of August 2019. Accordingly, the total debt figure includes domestic debt of 6,523.6 billion rupees and total outstanding foreign debt of 6,339.9 billion rupees. In other words, approximately $35 billion. The central bank recently said foreign debt worth $4.8 billion must be repaid next year. How will the government repay this? As per central bank statistics, Sri Lanka currently maintains gross official reserves worth $7.5 billion, equivalent to 4.5 months of imports. If not, the government can fasten the process to increase foreign direct investments. However, economists point out the government will have to obtain more debt to repay the current debt.
I am not sure whether the government is trying to repay this debt with our foreign reserves. But if they do this, it is wrong. The government will find it hard to raise debt due to negative ratings. Fitch has already revised the government's credit outlook to negative. The government will have to pay a high interest due to the increase in risk. However, on a positive side, the government only has to repay the largest installment in October next year. In terms of external debt repayment, the government will not have a major issue during the first 9 months of next year.
However, Cabinet spokesperson Dr. Bandula Gunawardena says repaying this loan will not be difficult.
Do not worry about this matter. There is a separate department within the central bank for debt management. This department has always made sure debt repayment is done in a proper and a timely manner. These experts will do the same thing once again.
What will be the central bank's plan to meet its external debt obligation in 2020?
The financing plan, obviously that government will have to decide when to go, how much to raise from commercial markets, how much to raise from other markets, and still government will have to raise certain amount of money, and as well as other conventional sources like ADB, World Bank, all this money will anyway flow in. About $1.5 billion every year that project financing will come in.
Against such a backdrop, the government announced several tax concessions in the recent past. International rating agencies point out such tax concessions will result in lower state revenue and the repayment of debt will be a challenge to the government. The new government has also taken measures to provide 100,000 jobs in the state sector for untrained youth and to implement social welfare programs such as Sapiri Gamak. Economists point out such measures will further increase state expenditure.
When state expenditure increases from one end and state revenue declines from the other, anyone knows this will be a problem to the government. If the government recruits more employees and introduces tax concessions while state revenue is declining, the government will no doubt face a major issue. When there is a loss in revenue, the budget deficit increases. This deficit also gets added to the total debt stock. Now the government may raise funds through a samurai or panda bond. A sovereign bond can only be issued after June. Even though they repay the $4.8 billion, the government must introduce trade reforms and increase exports as a percentage of the GDP if they are to sustain the country's economy.
Now, Dr. Harsha De Silva further elaborated on this matter.
When this government was in power previously, many loans obtained were not registered in the accounts of the General Treasury. Instead, they were recorded in the books of individual state institutions such as the UDA and the Water Board. This was not the correct method. Thereafter, all loans obtained through individual state institutions were put together and recorded in the books of the General Treasury. The debt repayment due next year were all obtained when they were in power.
මේ සියලු කලින් ලබාගත් ණය තමයි මේ දැන් අපිට ගෙවන්න වෙලා තියෙන්නේ.
In more headline-making news, the Criminal Investigation Department recorded a statement from former Minister Rishad Bathiuddin today.
The statement from the former minister was recorded today regarding the April 21st attacks. According to the CID, the former minister had provided the statement for nearly 3 hours and left the premises at 1 p.m. The CID, which is carrying out the investigation regarding the April 21st attacks, asked me to provide a statement. I went there and provided the statement. I am not connected to the attacks. When the CID asked me to come, I went there and provided the statement. I will extend my fullest support to them. We don't have anything to hide from them to hinder their investigation process.
The Colombo Chief Magistrate Lanka Jayaratna ordered for former Minister Dr. Rajda Senaratne be granted bail when the matter was taken up earlier today in court.
Former Minister Senaratne was remanded on the 27th of December over a case filed by the Criminal Investigations Department with regard to the controversial White Van press conference. MP Senaratne was admitted to a private hospital in Narahempita at the time and continued receiving treatment at the hospital while in custody. He was not present in courts today, citing illness. Presenting facts before the bench, Deputy Solicitor General Dilip Piris, representing the Attorney General's department, stated that the private hospital concerned has made a healthy individual a heart patient. He further added that MP Senaratne arrived at the hospital in disguise prior to being admitted. Deputy Solicitor General Dilip Piris said that the heart specialist at the hospital, Dr. Rashid Mubarak, did not present facts pertaining to Dr. Senaratne's health clearly, further requesting that a judicial medical officer be permitted to monitor the MP. Speaking on behalf of the defendant, President's counsel Vasanta Navaratna Bandara stated that Dr. Rishad Mubarak had been treating his client since 2006. He further added that treatment must be given based on the requirement of the patient and not based on the requirement of the department. The President's counsel further added that as per the Presidential Election Act, It was only then candidate Gotabaya Rajapaksa or Sajith Premadasa that could have filed charges over the white van press conference. He elaborated that neither of them had done so. President's counsel Bandara then requested that courts grant his candidate bail under any conditions stipulated by the magistrate. The magistrate then stated it cannot be clearly determined in considering the facts presented by both parties that MP Sena Ratna is in hospital with a motive. The magistrate also elaborated on how the accusations with regard to the incidents have not been done as per the proper protocol, adding that given the circumstances, she sees no reason why bail cannot be granted. As a result, MP Rajitha Sena Ratna was released based on two sureties of 500,000 rupees each. The MP's passport, however, has been surrendered to court. MP Sena Ratna was also ordered to provide a statement to the Criminal Investigations Department.
We are extremely happy that justice was served to Rajitha Sena Ratna, who did an outstanding service to the people of this country. Also, as a responsible opposition, we will always be prepared to secure the human, economic and the social rights of the people of this country.
පරිවාර රත අඩු කරලා තියෙනවා. නමුත් අපි දකිනවා ඔබතුමා පරිවාර රත දෙක තුනක් කරගෙන ජනාධිපතිතුමා දෙකකට ඒක බස්සලා තියෙනවා. ඔබතුමා ආදර්ශයක් දෙන්න කැමති නැත්නම් රටේ ජනතාවට මේ වගේ දේවල් කරලා. ඔබට මගේ පරිවාර රත පිළිබඳව පැමිණිල්ලක් කරන්න තියෙනවා නම් අපරාධ පරීක්ෂණ දෙපාර්තමේන්තුවට ගිහලා පැමිණිල්ල කරන්න. ඔබතුමා මොකද තාත්තගේ අසනීප තත්ත්වයේ අපේ රටේ අනාගත නායකයා ප්‍රකාශ කරාට පස්සේ ඇති.
अधिकारने स्वाधीन है. एक තමයි අපිට තියෙන එකම සරණ. අපිට විතරක් නෙවෙයි මුළු රටේ පුරවැසියන්ටම තියෙන එකම සරණ මේකද. මේගොල්ලෝ ආවේ.
They came to power to catch the central bank rogues. These people came into power to catch the people who aided the Saharans. So people of that caliber are now engaging in cheap politics like this.
Following instructions from courts, prison officials and the court registrar arrived at the private hospital in Narayanpeta today, at which former Minister Rajitha Sena Ratna is currently receiving treatment. They arrived at the hospital to sign the papers relating to bail bonds. Several members of parliament too arrived at the hospital to inquire into former Minister Sena Ratna's health condition. This will not end in a day or two. The case will be heard. It will be called up again on the 6th. Thereafter too, we will go before courts.
නෑ යන්නේ දවස් ගානක් ඉන්න මට සිංගප්පූරුවයි හේතුව විදේශ ගමන් බලපත් තහනම් කරලා ලැබුවා. එහෙම තියෙද්දි කොහමද යන්නේ රටේ? අවශ්‍ය වුණා නම් අධික.
After examining the health report, if there is a need, we will request court to allow him to travel overseas. In the past, politicians who are murderers were kept at hospitals for 6 months, but they question as to why Rajitha Sena Ratna has been at the hospital for 3 days. Basil Rajapaksa was in hospital for 3 months, but there was no issue.
ප්‍රශ්නයක් උන්නේ
සභාවක්නිට හැබැයි මම හිතන විදිහට දැන් මේ වගේ රෝගයක් තියෙන එක
සියලුම දේශපාලඥ රෝගී ඉන්නේ.
හැබැයි මේ ඊළඟ මේ 2020 මහමැතිවරණයේදී මිනිස්සු දෙපාරක් විතරයි
මම හිතන්න ඕනේ කියලා අපි විශ්වාස.
The people will have to think long and hard about it. They will have to think about the bond scam. I challenge the government, if you can, file legal action against the bond scam.
මේ ආණ්ඩුවට පුළුවන් නම් මහ බැංකුව හොරුන්ට නඩු දාලා පෙන්නන්න.
The Bribery Commission recorded a statement today from the Government Medical Officers Association on investigations that are currently underway regarding fraud and corruption which had taken place at the Ministry of Health during the tenure of Rajitha Sena Ratna as the minister. They have bought 64 cent tablets for rupees 64. Those are low quality tablets. On the other hand, we revealed what Rajitha Sena Ratna and his henchmen are doing by bringing expensive tablets. However, none of the complaints were examined. We hope that the Bribery Commission will take measures to start an investigation regarding the facts that we presented with evidence. Rajitha Sena Ratna should not be accused of these small offences. He should be accused of the damage that he caused to the lives of the people of this nation, especially from the Public Property Act on the basis of misappropriation of money. On the other hand, based on the Bribery Act. Moreover, on the other hand, it is possible to lodge charges from the Penal Code on the adequate evidence that is being revealed at the moment.
Ghanaian Bannister Francis, the employee of the Embassy of Switzerland, who was allegedly abducted, was released on bail earlier today. The order was given when her case was taken up by Colombo Chief Magistrate Lanka.
Ghanaian barrister Francis was remanded by officials of the Criminal Investigations Department based on the advice of the Attorney General on the 16th of December. Her case was considered once again today. A number of officials representing the Swiss Embassy, including the Deputy Ambassador of Switzerland to Sri Lanka and the political officer of the embassy, were also present at the hearing. Appearing on behalf of the Attorney General's Department, Senior State Counsel Lakmini Girihagama stated that the medical reports show no evidence of mental illness. Further, she stated that the reports indicate no evidence of any attack or forceful handling. The State Counsel stated before the court that Francis's personal mobile phone is registered under the name of her husband, then queried whether the phone is currently in the possession of the Swiss Embassy. The accused then stated she submitted it to the embassy for security reasons. When the magistrate asked if she is willing to voluntarily submit the mobile phone for investigations, she agreed. Her attorney Upul Kumarapenma requested that a formal request be made via the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. The magistrate denied the request, stating that no such procedure needs to be followed as she is a Sri Lankan citizen. Meanwhile, the State Counsel revealed to court that the mother and children of Ghanaian Francis had already left to Switzerland. This claim was denied by her lawyers, who stated that they had travelled to Singapore on holiday and added that they would return at the end of the school holidays. The magistrate warned the representatives of the Attorney General's Department against making such claims without properly assessing their accuracy. In response, representatives of the Attorney General's Department stated that they had purchased tickets to travel directly to Zurich, Switzerland from Singapore. The representatives of the Attorney General's Department stated that if granted bail, Ghanaian Francis would avoid cooperating with investigations, citing the privileges of being an embassy staffer. The defendant's lawyers, responding to the claim, stated that such statements cannot be made when the officials of the embassy are also present in the courtroom. Following the consideration of facts presented by both parties, the magistrate granted her bail on two sureties of 500,000 rupees each and a number of strict bail conditions.
We now cross over for a short commercial break. Stay with News First.
It was Mahatma Gandhi who said, "Be the change you want to see in the world." In a world where everything has become someone else's responsibility, in a world where everyone finds fault and does nothing to rectify it, your small actions will save the planet. Remember, there is no planet B. Join the second phase of the V4's Green Wave on the 11th of January. Register today by calling 0777 600 20.
Welcome back to the news. The report of the Presidential Commission to probe the central bank treasury bond scam was handed over to former President Maithripala Sirisena exactly 2 years ago. The Presidential Commission, led by former Supreme Court Justice K.T. Chitrasiri, made several key recommendations on instituting possible action against those responsible.
4 years and 10 months ago, News First reported on what would later be described as the biggest financial scam ever to be inflicted upon the people of independent Sri Lanka. Within days of News First reporting on the deviation of due process, conflict of interest on the part of Governor Arjuna Mahendran and his son-in-law Arjun Aloysius, the then Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe made a special statement in Parliament.
I insisted on a public auction because private placements have led to corruption and lack of transparency.
The Prime Minister acknowledged that he had appointed the Pitipana Committee, which consisted of 3 lawyers with known loyalties to the United National Party and unknown expertise in the operations of the central bank and the issuance of bonds. This committee infamously cleared then Governor Arjuna Mahendran of any wrongdoing, but insisted on an investigation into Perpetual Treasuries Limited, which they said was not within their remit. At the time that the report was handed in to President Sirisena 2 years ago, various activists were aghast that then Presidential Secretary Austin Fernando decided to archive the report. However, 106 pages of the report, said to contain sensitive information, has never ever been made public. In the report, the Presidential Commission of Inquiry determined the government suffered an avoidable loss of 688,762,100 rupees. The Commission determined that former Central Bank Governor Arjuna Mahendran was liable and responsible for this avoidable loss. The Commission also held that Perpetual Treasuries Limited, a company ultimately controlled by the Losh's family, was also liable for that loss. The Commission recommended that appropriate proceedings be instituted against Mahendran to recover this loss. Unfortunately, Arjuna Mahendran has thus far managed to evade Sri Lanka's law enforcement authorities and remain away from Sri Lanka. The Presidential Commission of Inquiry says Arjuna Mahendran acted in collusion with Perpetual Treasuries Limited by providing them with inside information to be used at the 27th February 2015 bond auction. The operations of Perpetual Treasuries Limited remain suspended whilst investigations continue. The Presidential Commission of Inquiry recommended instituting appropriate proceedings in court for the recovery of losses from Arjuna Mahendran, Perpetual Treasuries Limited and its beneficial owners, namely Arjuna Aloysius and Jeffrey Aloysius. The Commission also named the CEO of PTL, Kasun Palisena, as being responsible. Arjuna Aloysius and Kasun Palisena were arrested, remanded and then granted bail while the investigations are still taking place. The Presidential Commission of Inquiry recommended that forensic audits be carried out to ascertain the full loss and impact to the country into the bonds issued since 2015. Pursuant to the suggestions made by the Presidential Commission of Inquiry, the former Central Bank Governor Dr. Indrajit Kumaraswamy undertook the task of conducting forensic audits with the assistance of international firms. The completion of the forensic report saw the Monetary Board of Sri Lanka seeking the opinion of the Attorney General as to whether the reports should be made public. It was the Attorney General's opinion that the findings in the reports should be treated as having the potential to be evidence in investigations and therefore suggested that any extracts which can be in the public domain will be notified to the central bank. At the same time, the forensic audit report on the bond scam was sent to the Committee on Public Enterprise, COPE. However, before COPE could discuss the matter, Parliament was prorogued. Although the Presidential Commission was detailed in its recommendations, no legal investigation was ever carried out into the issuance of the second bond, which was carried out in 2016, which, in terms of value, was over 7 times greater than the first bond in 2015. The delay and lack of attention to the matter indicates that the scam was more deliberate and thorough than the first.
Here are some of the views expressed by State Minister Rohitha Abegunawardena at a media briefing held today.
The President gave a good example to all of us. He even released a new circular. State expenses will be reduced as much as possible. We can clearly see now how the previous government had acted. It is evident when looking at the state of the Treasury. But we cannot make the same excuses the previous government made. We cannot complain saying that we are unable to carry out any sort of development because the previous government has emptied the Treasury. We will create a new program through which we will pay all debts while looking into the people's well-being as well.
UNP parliamentarian Palitha Rangebandara spoke at a media briefing which was held at the UNP headquarters Sirikota today.
This is a government which was formed through deceit and it will end that way as well. They made a false claim to people saying they managed to save 20 billion by cutting off unwanted state expenses. They reduced PB Jasundara's salary to 200,000 rupees and called it reducing unwanted expenses. The most it has been reduced is by 3.6 million rupees. how did it translate to 20 billion? Minister Chamal, Shiranti Rajapaksa, Namal Rajapaksa and the President had travelled from Colombo to Hambantota via 4 helicopters just to attend an event at a preschool. 7 helicopters had travelled to Anuradhapura for the swearing-in ceremony of the President, which was held at the Ruwanvalisaya. The Prime Minister had purchased furniture worth 300 million when he took up residence at the temple trees. I would like to tell this to the President. Instead of making surprise visits to the RMV or the Economic Centre in Dambulla, visit a house of any of our citizens regardless of who they voted. Go into their kitchen and see what they have to eat.
ගිහිල්ලා මේ 69 ලක්ෂයක් ඒ පැත්තට ඡන්ද දුන්න 55 ලක්ෂයක් අපේ පැත්තට ඡන්ද දුන්න මිනිසුන්ගේ ගෙවල් වලට පැනලා පොඩ්ඩක් කුසිය බලන්න කියලා. කොහොමද කෑම කියලා.
350,000 kilograms of expired rice was discovered from a Satosa storage facility in Hinguraggoda today. The stock was discovered following an inspection carried out by the All Ceylon Farmers Federation.
A group including the national organizer of All Ceylon Farmers Federation inspected the Satosa warehouse today. Stocks of paddy were still being issued for the purpose of animal feed.
ඊට පස්සේ දැන් මේ සතොස ලේබල් එකේ යටතේ තමයි දැන් මේ පැකට් එක තියෙන්නේ. මේක DHI මාධ්‍යවල නිර්දේශ කරලා තියෙනවා මිල්ක් පරිභෝජනයට මුළු දුසුයි කියලා. ඒ අනුව ගන්නෝරේ වල ගන්නෝරේ පාස් කරලා තියෙනවා. නවතර. ඉතින් මේක ගන්න පුළුවන් නම් PHI මාධ්‍යවල කියනවා ටොක්සින් දිනවා.
Meanwhile, a stock of paddy passed as animal feed, which is only due to expire in February 2020, was discovered inside the warehouse. Why was this stock of paddy that will only expire in February in 2020 passed as animal feed? When there was no rice shortage in 2018, why did the government spend so much and import rice? They purchase paddy at a lower cost. They once again polish the paddy in mills and sell it to the consumer. We should not allow the government to import rice like this and waste public funds. We urge President Gotabaya Rajapaksa to take immediate action and to address this issue.
මේ විදිහට හාල් ගෙනල්ලා පිස්සු කෙලින්ද පාලකයන්ට ඉඩ දෙන්න බෑ. ඔන්න අපි කියනවා ගෝඨාභය රාජපක්ෂ ජනාධිපතිතුමෝ ඔබතුමා දැන් ওই සිල්ලර කඩගානේ ඔබතුමා ගියානේ මෙන්න මෙවට වහාම ක්‍රියාමාර්ග ගන්න.
Meanwhile, a group of UMP MPs visited the Narhempit Economic Centre today to inquire about the prices of rice.
මේවට පාලන බිලක් නෑ නේ.
මේක කැඩුණු හාල් 105යි. කැඩුණු හාල් කිලෝ 105යි.
මේක මෙතන මේ වෙළඳ මහත්තුරුන්ගේ අඩුපාඩුවක් නෙමෙයි. තොග මිල ලැබෙන මිල.
දැන් මොකද උනේ මේ අලුත් ආඩුව ආවට පස්සේ සමගර බැලුවා.
සංඝාරාංශයේ මුලදී ඍජුවම පුද්ගලික මූල්‍යමියට දෙන්න තීරණයක් ගත්ත සතියකට පස්සේ ඒ තීරණයත් එක්ක තමයි එකපාරම හාල්ගෙන යන්නේ. මොකද රජයෙන් සහල් වෙනකොල්ල පාලනය කරන්න තිබු අවස්ථාව රජයෙන් එළිහෙනවා සංඝාරාංශයෙන් නියමිත ඉවත් කිරීමත් සමග.
ලකඩ දිනුනේ කොයි ඔක්කොම පුටුවල ඉඳගෙන ඒකේ රූම් වල ඉච්චට වෙන්නේ
මේකේ ව්‍යාපාරිකයෝ මේ 5-6 දෙනෙක් තමයි මෝල් කරන්නේ නේද?
ඒක තමයි එකත් හරිදි. ඒක දැන් තමයි මම නම් කියන්නේ හොඳම දේ මන්ත්‍රීතුමා අපේ රජයේ මගින් හාල් කොටන්න ඕනේ. එතකොට මෝල් කාර්යයක් නටන්න බෑ. ඕනම විදිහට නටන්න බෑ. ඒක රජයේ හාල් දෙන අඩුව.
දැන් අද වෙලා තියෙන්නේ මුළු සහල් මේ වී තොග සියල්ලම.
The thing today is that the whole supply of rice is controlled by about 6 people and they determine the price. With the change in government, the Shakti cooperative was stopped. We must look at why that was done. It is a conspiracy because they are now controlled by mill owners.
ඇයි වැහුවේ කියලා. ඒක කුමන්ත්‍රණය නෑ. මොකද ඇත්තටම මහා පරිමාණ සහල් හිමියන්ට යට වුණා.
ආණ්ඩුව සතුව රතු කැකුළු හාල් කිලෝ කෝටියක් විතර.
We have information that the government has about 10,000 kilos of red rice in their stores. They can provide it at 75 rupees. I don't understand how they are beneath this rice mafia and are unable to control the situation. The president doesn't have to come to Narayanpeta. He just has to make 5 or 6 calls.
බැරි කියන එක. දැන් ඔබතුමා එන්න ඕනේ නාරායන්පිට ආර්ථික මධ්‍යස්ථානට එන්න ඕනේ නෑ. ඔබතුමා ජනාධිපති මන්දිරේ ඉඳලා කෝල් 5යි 6යි ගන්න තියෙන්නේ.
An event to create awareness regarding the Vari Vasante program was held at the Matra District Secretariat today. State Minister Mahinda Apabewardena, who was present at the event, spoke regarding the price of rice.
Lanka. There is no shortage of rice in the country. We should be concerned if the price is increasing due to a shortage, but there is no shortage. There is enough supply to meet demand. There is rice to suffice for another 6 months. There is an issue regarding the distribution of rice, and it will last for another 2 weeks. Thereafter, it will be done smoothly.
Meanwhile, President Gotabaya Rajapaksa spoke about the importance of collecting people's information by one national data center at a special meeting. The meeting was held at the Presidential Secretariat today.
The discussion was held between the President and several senior officials of the Ministry of Information and Communication Technology this morning. President pointed out the importance of registration of national identity cards, driving licenses, birth and death certificates, and all the information pertaining to the registrations being operated under one center. According to the President's media unit, the President has pointed out that time, labor and money will be saved by implementing this action, and circulation of false and fraudulent information will be stopped.
In news overseas, now a minor fire was reported near Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi's Lok Kalyan Marg residence in Delhi this evening. However, in a tweet, the Prime Minister's office said the fire was not in the Prime Minister's residence office area, but in the Special Protection Group reception area of the Lok Kalyan Marg complex. 17 fire engines were rushed to the spot after the fire was reported around 7:25 this evening due to a short circuit. The fire was later brought under control by security officials. And with that, we bring to a close tonight's edition of Primetime News on TV1. I'm Jamal Ratnaik for the Newsfirst team.
And I'm Michaela Fernando. Thank you for watching. Good night.